How did we meet? Go ahead.
How did we meet?
Say it like we never said it before, though. Okay, cool? Okay, got it.
Ready?
Action.
A NAHA Mother Entitled event. And I think it was one of the first through, like, after the pandemic. And you and I both knew a whole bunch of people there. And I was standing in a group that you probably knew the people. And you go, hi, what's your name? Do you want to be friends? Or something along those lines.
I sound like I'm literally 3 years old.
Do you want to be friends?
Cool.
And I was
cool.
wow.
Wait, what
I
is
love
your
that.
name, by the way?
Leah Wiseman Fink is my name.
Leah Wiseman Fink.
Yes.
It's a pleasure to have you on the Mom Curious
Thank
podcast. Everybody, I just wanted to say we also have another special guest. It's our executive producer, Laura Lucetti. She used to be here all the time. She got a little busy.
I'm very happy to
raising
be here.
my 9 other podcast
Siblings.
brothers and sisters. Brava to you, my love.
Yeah.
But I'm just so happy you took the time to hang out with me and Leah today.
Well, motherhood ain't easy, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, motherhood ain't easy. I
I'm
like
happy
that.
to be here.
It's a
Especially
real
when
thing.
you just keep racking up friends left and right wherever you go.
So anyway, if you guys want to know what we've been talking about, it's just that that opening line, want to be friends,
Yeah.
it sounds like I'm like a toddler, but it's a great line.
I mean, I
and
haven't
meant
forgotten it. It was a couple years ago, right? Or maybe a year and a half ago. And it's like
I don't
stuck
know.
in my mind.
I have to say that Neha throws the best events.
She does.
Shout out to Neha Roosh of Mother Untitled.
Yes.
She was the first guest we ever had on this
Oh, was
show
she?
and still is a connector.
Yes.
She is like so magnificent, and she's coming out with a book, everybody. So fingers crossed we'll get her on here again. But that's how I know you, Leah.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I'm realizing that like I'm so good at making friends that I almost have to. And sorry if it's you, person who's listening, that I'm talking about, but I almost have to backpedal after it, because when you're that open-hearted and you're that sort of like, sometimes you just don't have enough time. Do you feel like that in adulthood, that you have to be really picky with friends?
Yes. Yes. And I keep a lot of time for it. Like
For
on
friendship?
purpose. Yeah, for friendship on purpose. I like try and keep pockets that are like, you know, I have like mom life, work life, a lot of friend life too.
Wow.
One thing that's a little bit helpful is like groups, right? So like I have several different groups, but you can see groups together, and that's a chunk of time, or even a chunk of texting, right? How many group chats do you have? Probably
A lot,
right?
Yeah.
But that is a good way to keep like a lot of friends and a lot of close friendships together. Group trips. Do you do group trips?
I haven't done a group trip.
Oh.
Although I have one, by the way, that a friend of mine, oh my God, she put together a group trip for like, I think it's two weekends from now. I missed the invitation, and I'm like really crossing my fingers that I can make it work, because I think it's going to be so powerful and important. She didn't have a wedding. She didn't have a bachelorette. She's like going to have a baby. And it's this like weekend event of just like 10 of her closest people. And I'm like, if I miss this, then I'm going to really miss a moment in her life. And I don't want to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Make it happen.
I got to make it happen.
Yeah, you just got to make, that's the thing about like carving it out. You just got to make it happen. Even if, how far is it? Where is it?
It's in Gainesville, Florida.
Okay.
She's this like most magical person that I've known for 20 years. And the thing is that my children are starting like elementary school 2 days before. Like Paz has never been to elementary school, and she's like not that good at transitions anyway, or when I'm gone. But like if I miss this for Alexandra, I will have missed a huge moment. Yeah.
Be there for the first day of school, then go.
Then just go, right?
Just go.
Because my husband also is really good at husbanding.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons I can make so much time for this, is because my husband's great at that. You know, he says go, right? To like, whether it's weeknight group dinners or weekends, I do all kinds of stuff. I was invited to, so the moms I met when Sammy was born, he's 10. We're still close. There's like 5 of us. All live in different places now, but they had a reunion in Chicago, which I went to.
Wow.
It was amazing.
Wow.
And my 2 mom friends from when Sydney was born, she's 6 now. We're having another one somewhere else. So I couldn't, I went to the one I committed to first, but it was funny because there was like 2 going on at the same time.
Wow.
Yeah.
I feel like that's sort of like what we were touching on earlier is like when you have so many options and like it really does require so much decision making
Yeah.
and prioritizing, and it's so much easier to just be like, I quit. Like I'm just home. I don't want to deal with anyone's big feelings.
Yeah.
But then then I'm not really enjoying
Yeah.
big life living.
Yeah.
I think that's a great segue into introducing you.
Sure.
So Leah Wiseman Fink, you are a coach and also a pizzeria owner with your husband.
Yeah.
I wanted to have you on because you originally had reached out to talk about cold water plunges, which I've done, not in the ocean. You could tell us more about how you do it, like the real deal for free. I like paid $100. I was going to say $1,000, but it was $100 in New York City to like cold plunge, and it was amazing. But anyway, but really, it was such a metaphor for building resilience.
Mm-hmm.
And the more I sort of like researched your work and your history, there are other podcasts about you too if anyone wants to learn more about Leah, but I sort of found this trend in your resilience and how important that must be to you, and I was hoping that you would coach us through some of that resilience building.
Sure.
Some of that has to do with community building, isn't that right?
Yeah, what we were just talking about with like friend groups, building relationships, showing up. I feel like that's like a huge part of that is, getting yourself in the room or getting yourself to those big events or, even in the conversations when someone's going through a hard time, showing up for them, and in good times, celebrating them, all of that stuff. So yes, huge part of it. I find myself building communities wherever I go. So whether that's like in New York City with those friends, or we moved out to the North Fork for a whole year during the pandemic so that my kids could go to school. So at first I was like, I don't know a soul, not a single soul. I ran out and I joined a gym because I was like, okay, I'll find a few people at the gym. And then my kids went to school. So I was like, okay, there's some moms at school. And then I started swimming and I had my swimming friends. But community building is a big part of everything I do and have done. It's really important thread.
Yeah. Well, maybe would you introduce yourself officially?
Sure.
Who you are today?
Sure. Actually, someone asked me, I ran into someone I hadn't seen in a long time. They're like, do you have like 10 businesses or things you do? And I was like, yes, kind of always.
Kind of you do.
Yeah, I do. My name's Leah Wiseman Fink. I'm a coach, a mom of 2 humans and 1 puppy named Rosie.
Congratulations.
Thank you. My husband and I own a chain of pizzerias called Williamsburg Pizza. We have 5 in New York City and 1 in Omaha, Nebraska.
Get the fuck out.
Should I have said that first?
This is not worth me doing right now. Aaron is a part of that.
Yeah. He's our business partner.
My best friend, Dana, my best friend in the entire world, lived in that apartment that was above the very first Williamsburg Pizza.
Guess what? That's where I live right now.
She's gonna cry. You don't understand. Dana is her best friend,
Really?
best friend
Yes.
in the
she went
universe.
on.
Soul.
She makes hats. She's a beautiful milliner. But I
probably know her. I think I
I'm
probably
sure
know
you
her.
do. She's short, many iterations of that hair color for her back in those days.
Dana,
but
we love you.
We do love you. But what a time that was when the first one was launching. Talk about excellent pizza. Oh my God, I could do a whole thing for it. Ooh, the heart-shaped one. Ooh, it's so good.
With your name on it?
I'm
Should
done.
We put your name on it?
I'm
we
done.
Probably have put your name on it before.
Laura is like born and raised New York Italian chick. She knows good pizza.
It's good pizza.
Also, what's funny is that Leah is decidedly not. Where are you from?
I'm from Michigan.
She's from Michigan. She's a Jewish girl from Michigan.
Jewish girl from Michigan. Like literally, like I was in Michigan last week. That girl who was like, "Do you have 10 businesses?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's what every like nice Jewish girl from Michigan does. Moves to New York and opens a chain of pizzerias. What a funny thing!"
But look, try. I mean, it's good pizza.
Good is an understatement. It is absolutely excellent. It has been since you started. I think the Omaha move is so authentic and amazing, which I can let you talk.
Aaron's from Omaha, our business partner. Johnny's best friend.
So they were
that's
like,
how it worked.
It was like, why are you going there? And it's like, because that's authentic to us and it's what we want to do. I am so fangirling over here. I am going to zip it though. Go off.
No, this is like my happy place, because for the first year of this podcast, it was me and Laura hanging out with the guest. And listen, I've had a great run this past year, but it's so nice to like bring someone special on and for her to be like, bing, 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 bing. You know, it's like such a fun, beautiful moment for me. Also, just so you know, Leah was kind enough to offer to send pizza to the picket line for the SAG-AFTRA strike.
Did it ever work out? It didn't actually.
Not yet, but I bet we're still
They're
going.
still
So
going.
don't worry.
Okay, we'll work it out next.
Should we maybe continue on with her introduction?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
friends. Leah Wiseman Fink. Take it away.
Where was I? We opened the pizza.
More than pizza.
More about the pizza. I actually would love to tell you, because you talked about that opening year, which was insane. To which my husband was like, I have an idea for a side project. He's like, sit down. Let me, like, before you say no, he was working on Wall Street. He's like, I have an idea. And I was like, okay, that's fine. We have been married 2-ish years. And I was like, but we're supposed to have kids this year too. Like, that was our timeline. He's like, we can do both. So pizzeria opens, like planning for a year, opens. Same week, piano stick, I'm pregnant. I'm like, oh, great. We got like 2 jobs, a business, and now an infant. Here we go.
How did you handle that?
Oh, it was insane. It was totally insane. It was like, I brought Johnny upstairs to tell him I was pregnant. And he's like, okay, goes back downstairs and is washing dishes in the pizzeria. It was a moment. It was like a moment. And then that first year was completely insane.
Yeah.
And back to like, I'm looping it back, but to community, because my whole family's in Michigan. I grew up with aunts, uncles, cousins, like all my grandparents, like helping raise us. But I'm in New York,
The chills, yeah.
you know, by myself with like I said, a couple of businesses and an infant, and that's why those women that were my friends when Sammy was born, like, okay, we're family now. Right? I guess we're family now.
We are.
You know, walks in the park. We would like meet every Friday for happy hour, like, you know, texting in the middle of the night. And it's like that, it was, you know, somewhat out of necessity, also somewhat who I am, who you are too. Like, let's be friends.
Yeah.
Right? But that's what we do. You know, that's what we do as city people and social creatures and community builders. Like that's part of how it happened.
I also think that there's like this idea, and I'm making it up as I go, but like it's like a sort of shared nervous system, you know, like we sort of let the leader of the pack, the most regulated person, sort of lends their calm, lends their bandwidth to the rest of us. Like if we're left to our own devices, we're only as good as our one little itty bitty lizard nervous system.
Yeah.
You know, but if we come together, we sort of form this web of resilience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And that's like in a time of necessity, like you need people, you need community. That's, you know, you find it and you hang on to it.
And if you're living a big life, which you are with your many businesses, and you're like sweet open heart and 2 children and a puppy. By the way, puppies are a real thing. This is a dog mom we're sitting next to. And like dogs they're a lot of work, actually. Yeah. We need resilience.
Yeah,
I mean, because
absolutely.
they're going to be hard days for sure. Do you want to tell us about cold plunging, by the way?
Sure. Let's talk about it.
Because this is a really big part of your life now.
Yeah. I do it. Actually, I'm off season now, sadly, and I miss it. Like I turn on my shower cold. It doesn't do it for me exactly, but it's like something. I started doing it in the middle of the pandemic. So we lived in the North Fork.
Wow.
The whole first couple months were like weird and novel. Then it got dark. Right? It was January, February. And I was reading a little bit about it online. You know, there's so many articles. There's that Goop episode. And I was like,
Wim Hof, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I just want to rewind and say that it got dark didn't mean emotionally, by the way,
No.
guys, which it might have. But in the North Fork of Long Island in New York on the East Coast, you know, I don't know where you're listening from, but it can get really dark really early.
Yeah.
And really cold, really, really cold. And it's like a summer town for the most part. Obviously not in COVID, that everything got different and shuffled around, but it's like quiet.
Yeah. So a lot of people who are there for the summer, even fall, disappeared for the winter, and it was really getting dark at like 4-ish, and it was a little bit eerie. I've been in New York for 20 years, so my husband and I were just kind of like, where are we? What's going on? So one day after I was reading these articles, I came home from dropping the kids off at school, and I was like, come on, Johnny, let's just do it. And he was like, okay.
Wait, what kind of do it? What are you going to do it?
Jump in the water.
Oh, okay. I was like, are we making a baby number 3?
I was going to say that's a whole other conversation. No, dog is our last baby. We're good.
Okay, Mazel tov. I'm so happy for you.
So it was freezing day in the 30s. Put on our bathing suits, ran down the stairs. I feel like I'm sure I went in first, screamed, jumped up and down, came upstairs. I didn't have and loved it. I thought it was so fun. It made my body feel numb and then great. I felt on a high the rest of the day.
How long did you emerge?
That was just like a jump in, jump out. Okay. So like 10 seconds. And then he did his, screamed, did not feel as good as I felt. And he was like, okay, that was a one and done for me. And then for me, I just kept doing it. Not every day, but like every couple days. It just like, there was some fun and excitement, and it made my body feel great.
Yeah.
Like, you got like a certain kind of, I'm not the best person to talk about the science of it, but it's like endorphins, dopamine, whatever chemistry happens in your body. I was like, okay, this is really great for me, and I'm going to keep doing it because it feels good.
I mean, and apparently cold exposure actually is so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That when you feel uncomfortable in your life, you can sort of refer back to it and say, I lived through that.
Absolutely. And then I learned how to go in longer. So I met a group of people. People kept being like, do you know these? They're called the North Fork polar bears. There's a group of people who, and
I'm nervous.
Yeah.
I feel physically nervous.
You're going to come in. I
feel nervous because I know I'm going to do it. By the way, do you understand this? Okay,
yeah.
Great.
So they swim together almost every morning, but also on Sundays. There's like a big group and a whole bunch of people, and we meet at a beach. We go in and we swim for like 10 or 15 minutes.
Wow. Yeah. So, okay, my experience with cold plunges, when did I do it? The first time I did it, this sounds kind of like bougie, but there was a company that came to the Dumbo house, mm-hmm. and they were last summer, and they were on the roof, and they filled a whole tub full of ice, mm-hmm. and said, jump in.
Yeah.
And they timed us for 4 minutes.
Okay.
And I screamed the whole time and like gripped the sides and only went from the waist down. But, fuck, man, that felt great.
Right? It feels great.
Oh, my God.
It feels great.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, just thinking about it, it's really interesting. Just thinking about it, I'm like, oh, my God, the relief.
Yeah.
For the rest of the day.
Yeah, that's the other thing. And I can't tell you where this is from, but I read or listened to. It's like cold water exposure is one of the only things where your dopamine goes up, right? A lot of other things do it, like having a glass of wine or whatever also does it, but then it just crashes right after. With cold water swimming, it's one of the only things where it goes up and then it continues to go up. Mm-hmm. The rest of the day. That's the effect.
That's so cool. And what's really special is that I assume you don't have any neurodivergence. You know what? I shouldn't assume. I assumed because you went to Harvard, but actually there are lots of people with ADHD who went to Harvard.
I have major ADHD.
Oh,
so we'll just put it on the table.
Wow,
yes.
what isn't that
major.
Actually I should never ever say that, because there are people with like very high IQs and who are wildly successful with ADHD, but I have ADHD.
Yeah.
And that is a dopamine deficiency actually.
Yeah.
Actually. So this is for anyone listening. I feel like people who are neurodivergent often listen to this podcast because I'm one of you. But cold plunging is really good for us.
Yeah. That makes sense. It makes a lot of sense.
Because the dopamine also comes from newness, by the way.
Yeah. Yep.
I was on a business trip the other day and I was like, why do I feel so, what's that? It's good. That's what that is. That's good. Why do I feel alive? Because like I was just seeing new things.
Yeah, totally. And maybe meeting new people and out of your exact routine. And
Yes,
all of that.
and
yeah.
that's so it's really important for people with ADHD. So
Yeah.
this is something that's really a great tool. I mean, the way you do it is free because Mother
Yes.
Nature is like, hey, I have this great idea. Why don't you use me
Use me
for the betterment of you and me?
Exactly. Right.
But there are places you could go. Like Remedy is a place in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
I've been there and it's great. You go, you do like the sauna and then the cold
I was
plunge.
going to say that's the other thing I really I love saunas too.
Well,
and
there
if
you
you
go.
could do it together. I don't usually do it together because I jump in the ocean and there's not like a sauna
right there.
right next door. But I do feel like I get a similar effect from especially infrared saunas.
Yeah.
Like when I can do that, I have one of those blankets. That's pretty awesome. But I do get that like dopamine, newness.
Also, the feeling of having accomplished
Mhm.
something uncomfortable,
Yeah.
I think is really like it's an important sort of moment
Yep.
in your brain. Like it's why working out feels so good.
Yep.
It's why opening up pizzerias
Yeah.
and saying, I'll open up in Omaha too because I want it for me. And
Yeah.
even though it's a challenge, like I'm gonna climb this
Yeah.
and I'm gonna enjoy this. Like
Yeah.
that's a huge part of building resilience and building confidence
Yeah.
in yourself.
Absolutely.
And it's important in motherhood too.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
How do you make the time for it?
Which part? The cold water swimming part?
Yeah.
That is another piece. Well, I do it. It's usually Sunday mornings. And that's another piece where like my husband takes over the kids. Or sometimes I'll bring my younger Sydney with me and a bunch of the kids play on the beach and we swim and it's like kind of a fun thing. They watch, they like build. Sometimes they build like stick forts or who knows what kids on a beach do. But
I love this.
yeah, yeah.
It's so
Sometimes she'll
beautiful.
like sit on the rocks and like, hi, Mom.
Oh, that's
Cute.
so nice.
Yeah.
So I listened to a few of the podcasts that you've guested on,
Mm-hmm.
and I really resonated with the pivot you made when you had Sydney, your
Mhm.
second, right? Would you call that like of your own volition, or do you feel like you were maybe driven out? Unfortunately, both.
Both.
Yeah.
I mean,
Which is unfortunately a very common experience.
yeah.
Maybe you want to set the scene for us so that
Sure.
we can.
So my background is in education, taught in classrooms for a long time, did administration. I opened brand new schools, which was like one of the, actually to your point about newness, that was like such a fun project. We were opening New York City schools all over. And actually my kids go to one of the schools we opened, which is like every day I drop them off. I'm like, it's so nice. I'm like full. And sometimes Sammy's my older, he'll be like, Mom, you built this school, didn't you? And I'm like,
So special.
and then sometimes he's like, did you actually like build it or did you build it? And I'm like, no, I
just built it, not,
Yeah, exactly.
not the actual building.
not that. Yeah. So education. And then you talked about, you said Harvard, but I actually went to Columbia.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. I just,
Way to give me the space and
I
time
was
to
like, whatever.
correct it.
It doesn't
Wow.
really,
Sorry about that.
It doesn't really matter. But I did my leadership training there and then I taught leadership there. So at the end of all that, I was sort of like, let's go back into schools and sort of like practice what I preach and see, what happens. And I thought it was a good time. And I was back in schools and I got pregnant with Sydney. And it just turned out sometimes schools are really toxic environments, unfortunately. Sometimes when the leadership is like not the best and there's not an amazing culture. And once I announced my pregnancy, things started to really go downhill. And I stuck it out and came back after Sydney was born, but it was just ugly. Like they had repainted my office and put me in the basement and sort of taken away my duties. And I had no place to pump milk. It was just like in a school, right? Where like, lots of women uphold the institution of education. It was just really, not to mention that at the time I got 0 maternity leave. Like you had to take your sick and vacation days as your maternity leave. It's changed a little bit now, but isn't that insane?
It's really terrible.
It's really terrible. So I went back to this, and one of the reasons I hung on is because we had the pizzeria. So I was sort of our primary health insurance. And I was like, okay, I can't just like take this leap right this second.
How American is this story, by
Right?
the way? This is getting like too niche.
It's
I know.
infuriating.
And by too
Yeah.
niche, I mean this is important.
Mhm.
Go on.
So I sort of took that, you know, time sitting in the basement, you know, with my duty strip to brainstorm and figure out what I would do next. And the thing I came up with was sort of starting with community. So I started doing new moms groups. That was one of the first things that I did. So I started putting together like all these things I knew that I was good at and could do and sort of was already doing. You know, I'm so close with that first moms group. So I was like, okay, let me do this for other women. It's very needed. It's really helpful. I can do it, you know, with my eyes closed. So I curated these groups and I did that. And then I was doing some moms nights out. So like at some point
I needed this.
you're right. There's a friend of a friend who was a Broadway producer was like, called me up and he was like, I heard you know all the moms and I can get everyone to come to my show, but not the moms. So can you bring them? I was like, yeah, I can do that. Like, give me 20 tickets. I'll bring you 20 moms. And so
Wow.
we started doing stuff like that. A friend and I started a Jewish organization in Williamsburg called B'nai Brooklyn because there was no sort of more secular, more reformed. There's tons of Orthodox stuff in our neighborhood, but not other stuff. So we started doing pizza Friday night, Shabbats.
That's awesome.
Which was amazing. So I was doing all these different streams and then I hired a coach, Antoinette Beauchamp, who Neha and Hitha, they were all working with her.
I
was
didn't
like,
realize that Hitha also, but I know that Neha.
Yeah. So we're working with this coach and I was like, oh, that seems like something that would help me like sort of figure out what this next path was. And in the very beginning of that, I said, I've always had an inkling that maybe coaching is what I should be doing.
It's also very educational, you know?
Totally, 100%.
I think the people who start off as teachers do very well in general in this economy because I don't know. With Instagram, I think people are doing fantastically well teaching.
Yeah.
And we see that there was this huge drop off in COVID of teachers who are like really, who were totally burnt out, but the skills are very necessary, needed. We're all like, teach me how to build resilience. Teach me how to build community.
It's all the same. It's all the same. And I would say the combination of teaching and my leadership training, both of those are like the skills that I bring into this next career of coaching. It's like all the same stuff. And I do coach a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners. So it's really the same skills, right? Like people skills, problem solving skills, resilience. I always say that about people sometimes ask me like what makes a business successful. So that's like in business and coaching. And I really, really think that the ability to ride the ups and downs or come back from the lows is the biggest marker. If you can do that, then I think you'll be successful.
Mm-hmm.
It might take longer, might take shorter. You know, the degree of success might be different, but if you can do that, I really think that's a key marker.
I love that you tapped into the moms, and so did I, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or at least women, for the most part here, because I feel like what we're noticing is that mothers actually have quite a lot of, maybe they don't recognize it, but they have a lot of power in their families, and they actually have a lot of power in the economy. And they consume media for where I'm sitting. But, you know, for the listener, you know, they're actually, it's worth mentioning how powerful they are as a consumer, as a person in our society, which I don't think we say enough. I think a lot of marketers and advertising people sort of play to mothers' insecurities.
Yeah.
But the reason why they're playing to mothers in the first place is because actually that entire demographic is, you know, wildly, you know, for the most part, like the decision makers in the household. They're the ones who are holding the purse strings, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
I think it's worth investing in those people, investing in our happiness, in our community, in our education, in our leadership. I really appreciate that you did that you saw that market and you're using your skills to serve. Yeah. Okay, so tell me more about that that switch over to your new career?
It was kind of a crazy time because it was right before COVID too.
Oh God.
One thing that's nice about my work, especially my coaching work, is that most of it's online, right? So you could do it from anywhere. And I was finishing up my training and taking on clients, and I could do it, from my laptop while we were living in the North Fork. And then again, back in New York City, I still love seeing people and meeting up with people, like, both of us. I think we're people, and that newness aspect, and like, but yeah. And so Antoinette trained me. I got trained under Antoinette.
Oh, cool.
Right. And then I worked under her. Like I call that like my residency sort of. And then started taking on new clients. I would say it was like a slow build or a fast build, but it's sort of a medium. I had to like learn a whole new industry.
Yeah.
Luckily, we had the pizzerias. My husband helped me a lot in entrepreneurship and the back end of things, and starting an LLC and paying taxes, all that stuff. So I could sort of learn it more quickly, or he helped me. It was a partnership thing. We worked together a lot. Him helping me in the coaching, and I dip in the pizzeria too.
Nice.
Which is really fun. We love that.
For your ADHD brain.
100%.
It's fantastic. We need the newness. We need
great.
The versatility. You need it.
Yeah.
Also, just like sitting. I'm assuming coaching is really fun, actually.
It is.
And Antoinette, just based on my limited knowledge of her work with Neha, whose work has, blossomed incredibly.
Yep.
Like she's really. It must be fun working with her and with people who are like her, and but sitting down for a long time in front of a computer can be kind of boring. But you got to get up on that pizzeria floor.
We were talking about it before, how you can do so many back-to-back interviews, and I have a limit of you can do a bunch in a day, like today. I have a limit. I can do about 3, maybe 4 in a day, and that's kind of my limit in terms of my like concentration and brain energy. I'm sure it has to do with ADHD too.
And maybe I think also I'm like Ashley, one of the producers at Hoff, always say like, we have a classically trained actress.
It was about to come out of my mouth.
Yeah, she said that.
And I already said it once today.
I like, I'm most comfortable like speaking Shakespeare for 3 hours, and then like crashing.
Right. Exactly.
So everyone has their rhythm.
Yeah. But then
knowing that rhythm is really important.
Yeah. But then it is fun to be able to switch gears and do pizza stuff, or,
mom stuff.
Yeah. Mom stuff, or any of it, it's like super fun to be able to have those different lanes that I can bounce in and out of.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
Wait, you have other businesses you're working on? No,
not right now, but like during
just because you were telling me like that you have so many things on your plate. I'm like, I don't know, the pizzeria, the coaching, that feels like enough.
Currently, it's
the
pizza,
puppy.
Yeah, the puppy. Currently, it's a pizza and the coaching. I did have a tie-dye business during the pandemic.
Nice,
because why not? And it's like I'm pretty good at tie-dye, and everybody wanted it. I was like, okay, I'll do this. It blew up. It was like I was super busy with it.
I love this.
And then the B'nai Brooklyn
She's a
thing.
hustler, baby.
And then the B'nai Brooklyn thing that we did for a while, but then other things take up more time. Johnny and I wrote a children's book. Do you have it?
No, I do not.
Oh
what
my
is
God,
it?
I'm sending it to you for sure.
Please tell us all about it so people can go get it.
It's called Brooklyn Pizza Cat.
Oh.
This was a pandemic project. Yeah, we were just like talking about it, writing notes, drawing pictures, telling it to other kids. And then we're like, all right, we self-published it. So I'm like, let's just make this happen.
So where do you even sell a self-published book? So I know. So that
sure.
I can do it.
I'll tell you the whole thing.
Tell me right now.
Okay.
Go.
Well, how to do it. I mean, you do it. You write your script first. You get it illustrated. So you either hire someone, or I don't know if you.
No, I definitely do not.
And
I'm not a visual artist in the least.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. And then
I couldn't even do tie-dye really.
Really?
No.
Tie-dyeing's so fun.
Who did the illustration?
We hired someone. We did it via Fiverr. Is how we found someone.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
Cool.
And then I'll have to look up the website, but it's like Inuit Sparks or something, where you go and you like put it, you get it. I don't know the word for
bound?
it. But like, well, before you get
Printed?
it bound, but like formatted, right? So you put it on the format, and then from there you can sell it on Amazon. So through this website or whatever I did, it sells on Amazon and barnesandnoble.com and like whatever. So someone could just order it and it ships to you without me doing any, like without that.
Incredible.
And then we also printed 500 copies in China, and little stuffies because it's so cute. Little pizza cats. The pizza goes, it velcros in its mouth.
I wish you could see Laura's face.
It's
right
amazing.
now.
I'm dead.
I'm
over
all
this.
about
This
the
is perfect.
I'm gonna
Also,
send you
to
them.
write a book about a pizza cat is
Right?
like, yes, that's the move.
Sammy the pizza cat. I'm going to tell you the plot right now. Sammy the pizza cat gets stuck in a tree and gets lured down by hot, delicious pizza. The end. That's the book.
How many nights? I love it so much. How many nights a week do your kids eat pizza?
A lot.
Tell me all about it.
Probably.
Do they eat it with toppings?
I'll tell you. Sydney has her exact order: 1 plain slice, 1 grandma slice, 1 chocolate chip cookie.
Okay.
That's her order. Yeah.
Wait, so
Sammy's varies. He changes his mind.
and like, are there broccolis? Are there pepperonis?
No. Are there broccoli?
No, like you
Oh.
know, sometimes that people put broccoli on their pizza.
No.
No.
No broccoli.
You don't even offer it?
No. Well, there is a vegan pie.
Okay.
Laura, have you had the vegan pie?
I have because I've had vegans around. Yeah.
It's delicious.
It's very good.
It's really good. I'll eat that even though I'm not a vegan, just because it's good.
That
Okay,
grandma,
Which I feel
though.
like is a marker of a good vegan pie.
What makes this pizza so? I've never had this pizza. Listen,
Ooh.
I need you guys to know that the pizza's coming to the picket, but it hasn't yet.
It is.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm sorry. I did a lot of research on
know.
you, Leah. I didn't do the most important. But
You
of
didn't
course,
come over
the
for
one
pizza
thing
yet,
I
but
haven't
you
come
will.
over for
You
pizza
will.
or the cold
What
plunge.
neighborhood do you live in the city?
I live in Brooklyn Heights.
Okay. So Williamsburg is your closest, or Crown Heights. So you'll come
I've
over.
never been to Crown Heights.
Okay.
Really.
When you are when we're both back in the city, we'll have a pizza party.
It's that good. What makes it so good? Is there sugar in the dough? There's got to be sugar in the dough, right?
I don't know.
It's not too sweet.
No,
if that's
it's not-
a
it's not
question,
sweet.
it's not. You don't want it too sweet.
We have a chef. His name is Nino Coniglio. So when my husband sat me down for
Wow.
a side, can I do this? What do you think about this side project before you say no? Hear me out. They found, and my husband's a Jewish guy from the Midwest also. He was born in Detroit, grew up in Colorado. Aaron's from Omaha. So nobody has, pizza experience.
No one's Laura Lucetti, essentially.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
Didn't he win? He won a bunch of awards.
Oh, right. So
Okay.
the way once they figured out we're going to do pizza, this is a really funny tidbit. He went on Craigslist, like pizza chef. Like, where do I find a pizza chef on Craigslist?
Okay, guys, did you notice that the genius Columbia grad,
Yeah.
not Harvard, okay, but she's like Craigslist and Fiverr.
Can we say
Exactly. Craigslist.
Craigslist louder for the people in the
Yeah,
back? People are
Craigslist.
very freaked out by Craigslist. I have had so much life-altering success on Craigslist. People need to get in the game.
I mean, 6 pizzerias. Craigslist. So, anyways,
And
like
also,
literally,
what's his name? Because it sounds like a great name.
his name is Nino Coniglio. If you Google him, he's like one pizza of Pizza Chef of America. He won Chopped. He's very
And he was
well
on Craigslist.
renowned. Yes, at the time he was on Craigslist. And he says to Johnny's like, "Are you good at making pizzas?" And he goes, "Google me." That's what he said.
Listen,
Google me.
I'm taking notes now, and it's Fiverr, it's Craigslist,
Craigslist.
it's cold plunges.
It's cold
It's
plunging.
definitely going to Gainesville.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's Google.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes. I taught you everything now. I know. And it's
And
Google.
we're off on
Yes,
our way.
Exactly. And basically just saying like yes to the things, I think, is like a big theme. Just showing up and saying like, okay, side project, that sounds, why not? What's the worst that could happen?
But is it also because you trust yourself like deeply?
Yes, I think so. I trust
Johnny.
myself, and I'm a really good decision maker.
Mm.
So I like that kind of decision. Should we do this or should we not? Like, yes, let's do it. Then I also think or decide or know that like, what's the worst case scenario? We do it. It doesn't work. Okay. Like, we're out some time. We're out some money. Sometimes maybe it's a little embarrassing, but like you can always change it later, fix it or pivot. Right? Like, look at my whole career. Like,
It's not that it wasn't hard.
exactly.
I mean, I read in your bio that like when you did pivot careers, you also were dealing with with the loss of 3 loved ones.
Yes.
Like that's a lot on
Yeah.
the system, and somehow you were able to bounce back from that.
Yeah.
The bounce back. That's
Yeah.
what sort of seems the most important takeaway from the story so
Yeah.
far. The bounce back.
Yeah. I think, you said like trusting yourself. And then I think also just like trusting, if I'm thinking about that year where I was pivoting careers and losing a lot of people that I was super close with, is just, and I didn't feel good in that year. I felt horrible. The whole like getting pushed out of that job on maternity leave, I felt horrible. It was,
Can I just say out loud that it's not your fault?
yeah.
And that like it's the fault of the United States of America.
Yeah.
By the way, I am so grateful to live in this country, and also we have major problems.
Yep.
The way we treat women
Mhm.
and the fact that insurance is so hard to come by. I'm sorry that they treated you that way.
Yeah.
And like you're one example. You're one very resilient, very successful now example, but of the system failing us.
Yeah. 100%.
But anyway, you felt shitty.
I think
But-
the trust in the upside, right? Like that, I didn't feel good. I also didn't even like try and talk myself into there's a silver lining, or like this is actually not as bad as I think it is. No, it was bad. It was really bad. Both of those situations. But I think knowing that at some point there's another side to it. There's a second career, or there is a, grief being folded into your life so that you can smile again, or finally remember that person with, a funny story instead of sobbing about it every time their name comes up, like just like knowing that that will happen at some point.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
Last night, so one of the people I lost was my cousin Zach. He was 17.
Oh no.
And last night we were watching the sunset, and pink was his color. So like every time I see pink, I'm like, he's saying hi. I tell my kids that, and they're like, Zach's saying hi to us. And I think that's so sweet that they like fold him into their lives too, even though they were so young.
It's so beautiful.
But so the sky was pink, and there was like a big Z shape in it. Wow. And I was like, hi Zach.
Hey,
Yeah.
I actually would love to ask you like a personal question for me, actually, for my son. He grapples with death all the time.
Yeah.
Which is healthy, and he's
Yeah.
also pretty gifted, so he understands.
Yep.
Like in general, he understands a
Yeah.
lot. But that's such a beautiful way of letting death and grieving and the afterworld and signs be a part of their childhood. I'm wondering how do you have those conversations? Not that I'm not saying that you're like some sort of expert, but it sounds like
we sort of got thrown into it because like it wasn't, you know what I mean? They were young when all this happened, especially Sammy, who was in first grade.
That's how old my kid is.
So one of the things I keep in mind as like a general umbrella is it's not one sit down conversation where it's like, this is what death is. This is what happens. Here's how to think about it. It's a lot of like, it's a million tiny conversations, right? So like, maybe some of it is the mechanics of what happens when a person's body stops working. Another little conversation might be like, I always think of Zach when I see pink, right? Or I believe that that's him saying hi to us. And maybe some of it is like a book that they read, or a pet that dies, right? And talking about that. What does it mean to them? How does it make them feel? So that's sort of like my umbrella, theory on it.
Do you bring it up before they maybe Sammy wasn't as into death as Ness is?
No, he was.
He was.
Yeah, he was.
I think some kids are.
Yeah. One of the other aspects that came up was sometimes he would bring it up. Like, it was this 18-month period of a lot of people.
I'm so sorry.
And sometimes he'd like bring up somebody's name when I wasn't thinking
Ready.
about it or ready to talk about
Yeah.
it. And it would just be like,
ouch.
yeah. And you just have to like go with it. You know what I mean? Or if he sees me cry, I have to just be like, I cry because it's sad, right? It's what it is. It's, it is sad enough to cry over, the loss is big enough to miss these people.
Yeah, totally. Thanks for sharing that. I really appreciate it.
It's good. I also like, I like to, like when we talk about Zach, I like to talk about him. He's like, oh yeah, it feels like he's like right there. He's listening. Like maybe he'll listen to this podcast. I don't know.
Maybe he's listening right now.
I know, exactly. I do feel like that though. I know not everyone believes that, but it's, I feel these little tingles of connections.
Yeah, so do I. So do I, for sure. I try to instill that in my son, like the idea that they're not actually gone. Like I have like a rich relationship with my grandparents who have been, my grandmother's passed away about 4 years ago, but my grandfather passed away when I was 16, and I have an ongoing dialogue.
Yeah.
I feel very connected to like people who have passed. I also think that not everyone does, and that's totally okay. But I try to offer that to Ness. It doesn't seem to really make him any happier.
Yeah.
But maybe that's just because it's not necessarily a happy thing. It's just is what it is. Yeah.
And it might ebb and flow with, I don't know, my kids or your kids, where like, they do feel more connected or they don't believe that, and you know what I mean. And I feel like maybe until they're adults it might be fluid.
It's so interesting because like I the idea of God it just sort of morphs for me every so often. It's not like this like fixed idea really, but my kid like Ness like really believes in God, and I'm like anyway, we're actually rounding out, if you can believe it.
But you were just bringing up God.
I was.
You want to talk about God? It's like a whole other. Well, we're gonna have a whole other episode.
Definitely.
You want to give us your 2 cents on God, real quick?
I mean, I will say that we're Jewish, and it's so important to me. I know it's so important to you too. And we joined a synagogue last year, which nothing has made me feel more like an adult than joining a synagogue. I was like, I pay taxes, I pay rent, like there's lots of things. I got married, like lots of things, but nothing.
You have children.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing made me feel older than like signing the paper to join the synagogue. I was like,
my sister-in-law wants to do a baptism, and she looked at me and she goes, what do you even do? And I go, you got to join a church.
Yeah.
Like that's the first step, like to the whole thing. But it's like the most adult thing that you do. It's like,
it felt so.
Where are you worshiping?
It felt so crazy. So anyways, I love, especially with like Jewish stuff, to like instill on my kids the culture, the religion, Sammy's already, he's going to be in 5th grade. So I want him to have a bar mitzvah.
Wow,
so like, I want to surround them with this stuff, and we have like a big Jewish community. We have lots of friends, but it is important to me. And that didn't answer your God question exactly, but
I have a lot of questions. 2, 4 about God.
Yeah, right.
There's nothing more Jewish than that,
right? I mean,
if I may,
there's nothing more Jewish than if we were to sit here for a whole other hour and talk about God, right? that would be the most Jewish thing we could do.
All right, so then we'll have to do that back in the city. We are actually filming here. Over pizza.
Yeah.
We're actually filming in the Hamptons, everybody, at LTV Studios, which I just want to shout out and say thank you to. And a big thank you to our executive producer, Laura Lucetti, for joining us.
Oh, I'm happy to be here. And this has been just such an enlightening conversation. Thank you, Leah, for coming
Leah
on.
Wiseman Fink, thank you
Thanks for having me.
so much.
This was a great conversation. I loved it.
Yeah.
Let's do it again.
In New York
City. In the city.
Over pizza. Laura, you're invited too.
Oh. Many places.
She's flying to Omaha. See you there.
Thank you, as always, for listening to the Mom Curious podcast. My name is Daniella Rabbani. I am your host, and I would love to continue this conversation at Daniella Rabbani on Instagram. And if you'd be so kind to rate and review, share this podcast, I would be just really grateful. Catch you next time, every Tuesday on the Mom Curious podcast, produced by Hoff Studios. You can find them at Hoff Studios on Instagram as well. All right, have a great day.